Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Randers, and we need to talk about this Western Conference playoff race. This whole year, it's been a crazy 3 to 4 team race for the number one spot in the West, consisting of the Thunder, Nuggets, Timberwolves, and if you want to throw the Clippers in there, I wouldn't mind. The race has been super close, especially as of post All-Star break. Even last night, there was a point where the number one seed could have shifted to 3 different teams in just one night. That goes to show how close this race really is. If it wasn't for Shea hitting a crazy buzzer beater last night, the one seed would have shifted to 3 different teams. At the start of the night, the Timberwolves had it. They eventually lost to the Bulls, leading to the Thunder picking it up mid-game, and it looked for a second like the Thunder were going to give it right to the Nuggets if they lost that game to the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson came down the lane, hit a crazy, should have been and one layup over, I think it was Chet Holmgren. But Shea, of course, just doing Shea things, comes down, hits a buzzer, not a buzzer beater, but a game winner, basically ending all hope of this happening. Speaking of Shea, we need to talk about his Thunder team. This Thunder team is shattering a lot of expectations this year. The Thunder were a young, promising team heading into the season, and many people did have them making the playoffs. I just don't think anyone expected them to be a top 3 seed in the West this year. They're led by their man, Shea. He's been balling out this year, top 3 MVP candidate, and he's been putting up some crazy stats. This year, he's averaging 30.3 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 6.3 assists on 53% shooting from the field, along with being the NBA steals leader. Shea's been otherworldly at this point. We all know that Shea was a top 5 player in the league based on his play last year, but it's really nice to see him extend his play through another season to really solidify the fact that, yeah, he's one of the guys now. In addition, his teammates are stepping up big time too. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, not J-Will, has really impressed me this season. He's legitimately a two-way star who just carried the Thunder in their last game. It wasn't Shea, it was J-Dub. He put up 33 points on 14 of 18 shooting with 8 assists, and this is not a one-time occurrence. J-Dub's been doing this all year long. When he needs to step up, he can be that one option in the fourth quarter. And when he needs to take a back seat when Shea's going off, he can play off of him too. They're a perfect 1-2 punch with a scoring guard that can play some defense along with a really good two-way wing. And this is what you need to win championships in the NBA. It also helps that they've had a really solid big man. Chet Holmgren, for only being a quote-unquote rookie, I understand he was drafted a couple years ago, but this is his first year playing, has been very solid on both ends of the floor. On offense, Chet's really good for playing within the system, and he's a mismatch nightmare. A 7'2" big man that can take bigs off the dribble, along with posting up smaller forwards, it's a very dangerous skill set. All 3 of these players have really impressed me this season, and for good reason. They're the number 1 seed in the West at this moment, and they're one of the youngest teams in the league. As I said earlier, no one expected this leap from them, and I think a lot of credit has to go to their coach, Mark Dangball. He's instilled a gritty, defensive-minded team that can put the ball in the hoop also. They're running around, they're active on defense, and then when they need a bucket, they go to their star players. This is only the start of this young OKC Thunder team. This is the first year that they're going to be in the playoffs, and I do think that lack of experience will come to bite them in the ass one series, but they're going to make some noise. What would help them make a lot more noise than they're supposed to would be Josh Giddey continuing to play well. Last year, he looked like the for sure number 2 guy behind Shea, a taller guard who could facilitate yet still score the ball when need be. But with his off the court issues, which I don't want to touch on in this video, but we all know what Josh Giddey did. He really came out the gate slow. As of lately, he's been playing a little better, putting up 19, 25, 31, 23, and 16 points respectively, with the last game being a triple-double against the New York Knicks. If he can get back to being that number 2 facilitating guard when need be and hitting his open shots, the Thunder could be really dangerous. Not to mention they have a lot of good role players like Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, Jay Will. This is a young ascending team. And just because it's their first year really competing, don't think that they can't make some noise. They're the number 1 seed for a reason. There are other teams coming for their head though, including the Denver Nuggets. We all know about the reigning champion Denver Nuggets. They're led by MVP frontrunner Nikola Jokic, along with a great supporting cast in Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. That starting five plays really well together, and they are the best starting five in the league by a pretty wide margin. Not to mention, they have some really good pieces coming off the bench too, with Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, Zeke Naji, Reggie Jackson. There's veterans sprinkled throughout this whole squad, along with really good young talent. And as stated before, they're all led by Nikola Jokic. Jokic has been the best player in the league for at least 2 years now. The already two-time MVP is putting up 26.1 points per game, along with 12.3 rebounds and 9 assists. He can kill you one-on-one in the post. If you decide to double, he'll find the right guy. He's just great. There's no other way to put it. Jokic is on his way to winning his third MVP, as long as Luka has nothing to say about it. But if he does end up winning it, that would put him in a really elite class of players. He'd only be the 9th player to win 3 MVPs in a career. This puts him in the same league as guys like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, some of the all-time greats. Not to mention, he just won his first ring, and he's looking to get another. When this Nuggets team is healthy, they're a very dangerous squad, but that has been an issue as of late. The Nuggets were making a decent push for the 1 seed, and they had it for a little while. That was before Jamal Murray went down. Jamal's been great this year. He's putting up 21 points a game, 4 rebounds, and about 7 assists. Not to mention, he always shows up in the big moments. When it comes to the clutch, Jamal's one of the best players in the league. As I stated before though, he has recently suffered a knee injury, putting him out for the last 5 games, and the Nuggets have definitely struggled. They did just beat the Cavs yesterday by 30 points, which is a statement game in my opinion, but they did lose to the Timberwolves by 20 and the Suns by 7. So not a great look. Yet again, Jamal has been out. So when this team is healthy, they're very dangerous. Even with Jamal Murray out, there have been other guys who have stepped their game up. Michael Porter Jr. has been playing great as of the All-Star break. In the month of March, he put up over 20 points a game on around 50% from 3. MPJ's doing a lot more than just being a 3-and-D guy. He's been attacking the rim, shooting mid-ranges. He's really becoming an all-around player. And then you have Aaron Gordon and KCP, perfect guys in their roles. Aaron Gordon knows when to cut. He'll finish almost everything at the rim, shooting around 70% in the paint. And KCP's gonna knock down his open threes. This Nuggets starting 5 is elite. They're the best in the league, and when healthy, no one's gonna stop them. In addition, they have a few X factors off the bench. Peyton Watson and Christian Brown are elite defensive players, along with Reggie Jackson, who gives them a nice boost of offense off the bench. Mike Malone's been really good with the Nuggets rotations also. He staggered Jokic and Murray's minutes to a point where at least one of them's on the floor at all times. Yet, when it comes to the clutch, they're both out there and they're both rested. This team is battle tested because they went the distance last year. The West was not as talented as it is this year, but they've still done it. They've won an NBA championship, which is something you can't say for a lot of these other squads. As of now, the Nuggets are my championship favorite. I know a team hasn't repeated since the 2018 Warriors, I want to say, but I feel like this Nuggets team can do it. One team that will be looking to stop that repeat will be the Minnesota Timberwolves. This Timberwolves team just feels like it's been built to stop the Denver Nuggets. They're led by their man, Anthony Edwards, who's been pretty good this year. Ant started the year off really hot. I thought he was going to be first team All-NBA for sure, MVP discussion at least, but he really cooled down towards the middle of the season. With Cat gone though, Ant's really been able to unload the clip in all these games. He's been willing this team without their second leading scorer for a good month and a half at this point. He's doing a great job keeping them afloat, and as stated, they were the 1 seed less than a day ago. Cat tore his meniscus a little while ago, which was a shame to see because this Timberwolves team is really fun to watch when all healthy. Cat was having a really good year. He was putting up 22 points a game, 8 rebounds, 3 assists on around 50% shooting. It was exciting to see Cat on a decent team. Not just decent, but a really good team. Cat and Rudy were finally figuring it out on the offensive end, which was fun to watch, along with Anthony Edwards just going off. Unfortunately, he did go down with that injury, but it looks like he'll be back for the playoffs. I don't know how healthy Cat will be, but as long as they can get 75 to 80% of Cat throughout this playoffs, they're going to go on a deep run. The Minnesota Timberwolves defense has been amazing this year, led by Rudy Gobert. In my eyes, he's the DPOY, which is pretty crazy considering this would be his 4th DPOY of his career. He's anchored a top 5 defense in the league, and in my eyes, there really is no competition between him and Wembanyama for DPOY this year. A lot of people are going to point out that Rudy is a regular season player, that his defense doesn't translate to the playoffs, and he gets attacked on the defensive end of the floor when it comes down to these half-court games. The reason Rudy was getting exposed, especially in the playoffs, in say his Utah Jazz days, were because they didn't have point-of-attack defenders. This Minnesota Timberwolves team has point-of-attack defenders all over the floor. Whether it's Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, there are good defenders finally surrounding Rudy. He doesn't have to cover up every other player's defensive weaknesses now and can really roam. This is why I think they were built to stop the Denver Nuggets. When you watch the Timberwolves and Nuggets play at full strength, you see that Cat goes on Jokic and Gobert goes on Gordon. This allows Gobert to roam and send late double teams, which is the one thing that Jokic somewhat struggles with. You pair that with their 2 top scorers, Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, you got a pretty dangerous team. If Cat comes back healthy and they could figure out this offense, watch out. There was a reason this Timberwolves squad was the number 1 seed for most of the season. They were leading one of the best conferences of all time for nearly half the season, so let's not underestimate them. Overall, the race for the number 1 seed in the Western Conference this year has been really fun. You just don't see the possibility of the number 1 seed switching hands to 3 different teams in one day, and that was very possible yesterday. With around 10 games left for each team, I'm going to be zoned in on all 3 of these squads. They're all primetime teams to watch, and needless to say, it's going to be a dogfight to finish the year. Whoever gets this number 1 seed also gains a really big advantage over whoever finishes in the 2 or 3 seeds. Not only do you get home court advantage throughout the playoffs, but as stated earlier, this is one of the best conferences in NBA history. The 3 seed is going to have to match up against one of the top teams in the league. As of right now, the 3 seed would have to play the New Orleans Pelicans, which is something I personally would not want to do. If the Pelicans were to go on a run, it could even be Luka as your first round matchup. I feel like this goes to show how stacked the West truly is this season. If you're excited to see where these teams end up falling into the NBA standings, drop a like for me down below. With that being said, make sure you hit that sub button, and I hope you all have a blessed day. Peace.